I'm John Franklin, CEO of Ski Racing Media. I'd like to welcome you to the first of 4 Swix Wax tuning seminars brought to you by Swix Wax, USSA, and Ski Racing Media. Today's topic is fluoro wax, why it was banned, how to rid your skis of it, and the rules of the season. The star of our show today is the Alpine Director for Swix Wax, Graham Linetto. Graham has a 25-year history as a ski tech, including time on the World Cup. If you have questions, you can just go to your chat button and hit chat and enter your question. We'll try to get to it. Thank you for joining us, and take it away, Graham.
All right. Thanks a lot, John. My name is Graham Linetto. I'm the Alpine Director for Swix. And as John mentioned, I have 20 years of experience in ski tuning for racing. And I'm excited to share some of my experience with you tonight. So let's get started. So this new format for us has worked out pretty well. Obviously, it's a little bit different and outside of the box, but we're going to have 4 sessions that we'll be going over, and including tonight. So we'll be getting into a lot of detail with every one of our clinics. So hopefully you can sign up for everything. And next session is Edge Prep on February 3rd, followed by waxing on February 11th. And the next day is going to be race day preparation on February 12th. All right, so the first of the series, as we mentioned, is Swix Responsible Waxing Program. And tonight we're going to cover the FIS and USSA fluoro ban, why fluoros were banned, confusion in the market, is fluoro-free a step back in performance, Swix road to fluoro-free, Swix Fluoro-Free Pro wax system overview, PPE, personal protective equipment, ski room safety, cleaning brushes and skis, and what the fluoro ban means for you. So let's get right into it. So where the rules currently stand for fluoro use. So USSA races, fluoro use is banned. For FIS races for this season, you're allowed to use fluoros, and for next season, you cannot. So how did we end up with this fluoro ban? So FIS drove this decision. So last February, the FIS met and decided to ban the use of fluoros at all levels of racing: World Cup, Europa Cup, NORAM, and FIS. And then that following September, the FIS met to test a mechanism that would detect fluoros in the base of the ski, and it didn't work. So at that point, the FIS decided to suspend the ban of fluoros for 1 season. Now, that being said, the following season, the ban will be upheld. So USSA upheld the fluoro ban. So that September, when the FIS decided to suspend that rule for fluoro ban, USSA decided to hold with it. So fluoros cannot be used in any USSA races. So we have a little bit more detail with that too. And I definitely recommend going to the US Ski Team website and just going over all their details that they have posted at their site. There's quite a bit of information. We're going to cover a lot of this tonight ourselves, but I do recommend checking out the USSA website. Okay, so the fluoro ban caused a lot of confusion in the market. So initially there were very few non-fluoro wax systems available. So with that late February decision from the FIS to ban fluoros, followed by the COVID-19 pandemic, many wax companies were just confused or not prepared for a fluoro-free market. So there are a few that actually offered system waxes, and Swix is one of them. So only a handful of the manufacturers were looking down the road and prepared to make the changes for that non-fluoro landscape. So it's important to remember when selecting race waxes that you make sure they're fluoro-free. So with Swix, it's pretty easy. You're going to be looking for this little green logo that says fluoro-free. If it's on the package, you're good. All right, so Swix was in an excellent position to adapt to the new non-fluoro rules. So with 11 years of developing safer fluoro options and searching for fluoro replacements, along with the EPA audit regarding the fluoro compliance, Swix was in an excellent position to adapt quickly to the USSA and FIS rules. So we're proud to deliver a fluoro-free wax system. So a lot of people ask me, does using a non-fluoro race wax mean I'm going to take a step back in performance? The simple answer is no. So I can't speak for other fluoro-free waxes, but I can tell you based on our extensive testing that the Swix fluoro-free waxes have been faster than a lot of our fluorinated waxes in testing. So I'm in touch with wax technicians from around the world in every discipline: alpine, Nordic, freestyle, snowboard, and all the reports are extremely positive about our new fluoro-free system. For instance, to the right here, this is testing from Val Gardena just a few weeks ago at the World Cup level. And out of all these waxes over here, the tests came back that our new fluoro-free system was outperforming the old high fluoro system. So this is really encouraging news that we've seen a lot of this test data coming back positive. And this is just a little testimonial. I just received an email yesterday, actually, from a friend that works for the snowboard cross team. And he was telling me that they're really happy with the performance of the HS waxes. In fact, he went on to say that every one of their boards has HS non-fluoro waxes in them. And they're really excited about the direction that the system's taking them. So what replaced the fluoros? So every brand will likely have a specific proprietary replacement for fluoros. Swix uses a hybrid combination of metal colloids. So each offer similar characteristics to that of fluoro. So metal colloid is a non-toxic substance that is commonly used in supplements for human health or cancer treatments. The real technology is in the combination of these metal colloids. So we built these hybrids. And when they're combined, the metal colloid hybrids were consistently outperforming the old fluoro waxes. So we had over 800 individual field tests performed around the world to obtain the correct percentage of each of these hybrids. So the old fluoro waxes were used as the minimum baseline standard in our testing. So this is the road to pro. This is Swix's path to non-fluoro, and we've been working on this for over 11 years. So in 2009, a scientific study was published about the use of fluoros. And it was talking about the C8 chain and how long they lasted. So C8 chain fluoros had traditionally been used in race waxes due to their durability and hydrophobic qualities. But C8 chain waxes, they can move a high volume of water and they're really good dirt repellents. But the problem with C8 chain fluoros is they are too durable and they can last for up to 300 years in the environment. So C8 chain fluoros are really commonly used. They're in manufacturing, cookware, household items. So in 2009, Swix launched the FutureSera project. So Swix saw a need to create an environmentally friendly race wax. So Swix developed the FutureSera race wax around what was called a C6 chain. And C6 chain is much easier to work with. It's still fast, but it degrades in the environment in about a month or so. And this was the first step for Swix to move to a non-fluoro wax system for the environment. But it's important to remember, FutureSera is not fluoro-free. I get a lot of people that ask me this question all the time. FutureSera is the C6 chain fluoro. So if you see this blue logo on your race wax, it's fluorinated and you can't use it for USSA races. You can use it for FIS races this year, but not next year. Remember, we're always looking for the green fluoro-free. All right, so here's the road to pro timeline. So in 2009, Swix developed the FutureSera project. And as I mentioned, the goal was the complete elimination of fluoros. In 2011, the alternative substances were discovered. So 2013, we started adding more and more of the C6 technology into our race waxes. And 2018, we went under review with the EPA. And then we could see the landscape changing with the FIS rules and USSA rules for the fluoro ban. So with our experience of that road to pro, looking for a fluoro-free replacement, we just decided at this point that we were just going to move on and go away from fluoro use. All right, so Swix launches Pro, the fluoro-free wax system. So there's 3 levels of performance. We have 100% fluoro-free, it's biodegradable, non-toxic, and eco-friendly. But remember, in order to make sure it's fluoro-free, look for the green leaf. So being eco-friendly just isn't good enough for Swix. It has to be fast. So Swix had 2 separate test teams that followed the Alpine and Nordic World Cup circuit around the globe. I think we're pretty unique as a company like that. So we had, as I mentioned, over 800 field tests performed by the Swix Nordic and Alpine test teams. So that dedicated staff travels the world following the World Cup constantly, always testing new recipes. So in testing, HF waxes were the baseline standard of performance, as I mentioned. And now Swix fluoro-free is the new standard of speed. So out with the old and in with the new. So this is the Ceranova system, the old HF, LF, and CH that everyone's used to. And this is the new Pro system over here on the right. So you can see the structures are very similar. The Ceranova system has 6 different hardnesses of wax, whereas Pro has 5. Ceranova in the Ceranova system, the 4 hardness is not available in the Pro. That's the main difference. And the CH4 is in a different area that we'll get to here as we progress through the wax system. But generally speaking, the wax ranges are a little bit wider, so there's more range in each of the categories. So as I mentioned, we have 3 different levels of performance. There's performance speed, high speed, and top speed. And top speed comes in new snow and old snow versions. So here's the level by level breakdown. So Swix PS, or performance speed, is going to replace the old CH or hydrocarbon line. So PS series waxes are great for training and competition on a budget. It's a high quality hydrocarbon wax that replaces the old CH line with good glide properties. There's 5 different snow conditions available, as I mentioned, and it's a very cost effective, great everyday training wax. Then we have Swix HS, or high speed, which is going to replace the low fluoro waxes from the Ceranova system. So HS waxes have a greater durability and performance than that of the PS line. Even though HS is a direct replacement for LS, the performance is actually more in line with the old HF series from us. So we have 5 different snow conditions available, and is probably the best value to performance ratio in our line. It's also offered in a solid or a liquid application. And that brings us to Top Speed Black. So Top Speed Black for me is kind of my go-to race wax. It's what I use the most. This is going to be replacing the old HF BW line. So it's best for old snow, transformed snow, man-made snow, heavily groomed snow. It's the highest performance iron and wax that we're going to offer, and it's especially designed for wet and dirty snow or aggressive snow conditions. TS Black is, as I mentioned, also used for very aggressive snow. And the way it works is the molecules stack up like a deck of cards. The additive is called molybdenum, and it makes all of the waxes black in the line. So the molecules stack up like a deck of cards and slide off one another. So that helps the ski brake in really aggressive snow conditions, but it also helps repel dirt. And that brings us to Top Speed Powder. And this is a little different for us. It's an inline change. So this replaces the old HF waxes. So as I mentioned, it's an inline change replacing the traditional HF paraffin waxes. Why? Why did we decide to do this inline? Because it's faster. We've had a lot of really good results with this, and we just decided to make an inline change and go to this system rather than the old traditional paraffin iron-ins. So right now, we have 3 different temperatures available. This will be landing in the warehouse here very soon. Eventually, when we get to the spring, we're going to be adding a 5 and a 10 category to this. So at the end of the season, we should have the full category available. It's a powder application. It's a maximum performance for new fallen snow. And it's also offered in a liquid application. And that brings us to the liquids. So we have top speed, TS, and high speed, HS liquids. So these liquid sprays can be used as top coats, and there's 2 different levels of performance. They're very cost effective. You can expect to get about 15 or 20 applications out of each of these containers. And you can use these liquids as a spray alone, or you can use it as a top speed coat over the top of your existing race wax paraffin that you would have prepped with an iron and brushing. HS is a full spray, and TS is gonna come with a felt applicator. So basically you apply it to the ski, it's gonna be wet, you let it dry. Once it's dried after about 10 minutes, it's 100% wax, and you can just simply brush it out. Really simple to use. And that brings us to Marathon solid and powder. So Marathon's been in our system for a while. It's a great wax. It's not something we talk a lot about, unfortunately, but we are really promoting it now because it's such a great product. So it's basically a universal race wax. Really simple to use. It's an old snow or a new snow version. So you could simply say, it's new fallen snow, I'm going to use white. Or it's old transformed snow, hasn't snowed for a week, I'm going to use black. It's that simple. It's hard and extra durable wax, so therefore it's a little bit harder to work with an iron. So we highly recommend buying a decent digital iron. It'll help make the application a lot easier. But if you're not comfortable with that, it also comes in a really easy to use powder application. New for this year is the Marathon solid application technique. And this is absolutely new for us. We're really excited about it. So it's a new way to apply Marathon glide waxes for cold conditions. So for 5 or 6 category, or polar 4. And what it is, it's a merino wool rotofleece. It's really cool. So there's no ironing or brushing required. And before applying, you want to make sure the base is clean and use a steel brush to clean the base and open the structure. And then you're going to use 2 separate brushes for application, one to apply the wax and one for buffing it out when you're done. So you apply the Marathon to the roto wool for about 4 or 5 seconds at 1500 RPMs. And then after you do that, you make 3 full-length passes over the ski. And when you're done, you switch to the new clean brush and make 3 more passes. We're going to get into details on this in the waxing section down the road. But tonight we're just going to talk about it briefly. So how the marine roto wool works. So this is pretty cool. So typically the cold wax is difficult to remove with standard brushing techniques from the low points of the structure. So the soft fibers of the merino wool will conform to the peaks and valleys of the structure while you're brushing. So the merino wool brush conforms to those low points, warming the hardened wax that settled to the bottom, removing and completely coating the structure properly. So this allows for maximum glide in cold conditions because the traditional paraffins might be stuck down in the bottom of the structure, and the really aggressive snow crystals can stick to that. So this cleans the structure out and helps the ski glide in those aggressive conditions. And that brings us to Swix Polar. So this is wax for extreme cold conditions. It's basically CH4. So perfect for cold, low humidity races, performs really well in artificial snow, and it's really durable. That durability comes from the wax being hard. So it is a little bit more difficult to work with. And as I mentioned before, the harder waxes, it's probably better to use a digital iron, give you a little bit more control. But if you're not comfortable with that, we also offer it in the powder form. And that brings us to our Swix Bio Waxes. So these are also really cool. It's a really cool option for training. So this wax is made from recycled petroleum products. So it's a little bit more eco-friendly. As I mentioned, all of our waxes are biodegradable, eco, non-toxic. These still are too, but we're using recycled petroleum. It's a performance biodegradable wax, and it's offered in 3 different temperature ranges. So really simple for your training skis. All right, let's get into ski room safety. So getting started, when we're in the ski room, we want to make sure we have proper ventilation. So the workspace must have proper ventilation and good airflow. So start by checking the airflow in the ski room. So waxing produces dust and particles that flow through the air and can be inhaled. So that means it's critical to have a well-ventilated workspace. So the waxing cabin or room must have cross ventilation in it. I've worked in this field for 25 years. I've worked in some pretty horrible ski rooms that didn't have any ventilation. So make sure you open the door, open a window. If you have to go to Walmart and buy a fan, just get the air moving in the ski room. All right, ski room tarp or ground covering. So before setting up your workbench, lay down a tarp large enough to cover the area that you're working in. And this will make cleanup a lot easier at the end of the day. So workspace do's. Work in a properly ventilated workspace. Wear proper respiratory protection in the ski room. Wear a hat, wear gloves, eye protection, wear dedicated workspace clothing, wear dedicated footwear in the workspace. No flip-flops in the workspace. Use a HEPA filter vacuum to clean the workspace. The HEPA filter is going to really reduce the amount of particulates that float through the air in the ski room. So it's a really good idea. Dispose of any loose wax shavings and the particulates in a garbage bag. Make sure it goes to the landfill. And then wash your hands and face and any exposed areas after working. Workspace do nots. Never work around unprotected people in the workspace. I see this all the time. So whether it's doing wax work and brushing or maybe sharpening skis with a machine, sometimes I'll see one athlete on one side of the table wearing all the PPE, the mask, the goggles, and then on the other side, their training partner is not. So everybody in the ski room should be wearing all the PPE that we talked about tonight. This is specific to the fluoros. Never smoke in the workspace and never use an iron over 180C or 356F. So it's really important with fluoros, if you are waxing with them, that you don't expose them to flames or high heat. All right, ski room safety continued. Clothing. So we're gonna wear suitable gloves when handling the ski cleaner and other liquid products. The gloves keep your hands safe from sharp edges when cleaning and tuning your skis, and be sure to use your gloves that are designed for cleaning and waxing skis. Additionally, wear gloves and a mask, and you should also designate specific clothing for waxing. So wear long pants, change your clothes before you go outside. You don't want to carry any of the dust or residue out into your, back to your room or out in the environment outside the ski room. Shoes, hat, and apron. Footwear should be sturdy and closed-toed, and the hat should protect your scalp without interfering with your mask. And while you're waxing, try not to touch your eyes, nose, mouth, or face. I think we've all heard that too much this year. All right, PPE continued. Just kind of an overview of what you should be wearing in the ski room. Okay, PPE guidelines for respiratory protection. So when applying and brushing wax products, we must protect ourselves from particles and dust in the air, and it's critical to use a well-fitting a mask with a proper filter. So the filter should be a minimum of A1P3, and you can just see that right on your filters. And don't forget that the particles can be retained in the air for hours, so wear your mask at all times in the ski room. Okay, replace the filter at least once every season. You should also replace the filter if breakthrough occurs. So if you can smell or taste any vapors, that means that it's time to replace that filter. It's not working right. When breathing resistance becomes difficult, which means the filter has been clogged with particulates, you got to replace the filter. Make sure your mask fits properly. Your mask should seal snugly around your face. And once the mask is on, check for any gaps. Okay, if you're wondering if you still need to wear a mask when working with fluoro-free waxes, the answer is still yes. So wax spews particles into the air, and those particles can remain in the air even after you finish waxing. Smoke fumes, dust, particulate matter can irritate your eyes and your respiratory system. So make sure that you wear a mask no matter what type of wax that you use. Also, if you're doing any edge work, make sure you wear your mask. Always have it on in the ski room. So as you can see, even a carpenter working with wood organic material wears a mask to protect themselves from particulates. So the same is true in the ski room. All right, let's turn to equipment. So one essential tool for waxing is an iron that's purpose-built for skis. So using a household iron, such as the one that you'd use to iron your clothes, can actually damage your skis pretty easily, and the wax. So waxing irons have a thicker base plate, and they more evenly distribute the temperature and the wax over the base of the ski. Okay, wax safety. Read the instructions on the wax package to carefully determine the ideal temperature for your iron. So all of the Swix packaging right on there is going to give you the iron temperature. And if you have lost your cover, you can just go online and find this information. So many waxes will specify a precise temperature, so you can program that right into your digital iron. And that's one of the great things about the purpose-built digital iron is it's really precise. I can dial that right in for whatever wax that I'm using, and it might only fluctuate like a degree or two. The household iron, you're going to get big swings in temperature, and you can easily burn the wax or damage your ski. And once again, don't overheat your iron. Make sure it doesn't go over 180 degrees Celsius. All right, after applying the wax, make sure to wipe your iron clean. So when the iron's unplugged and cooled slightly, use a piece of fiberline or a clean shop towel. So wipe around the edges and the base of your iron. For more in-depth cleaning, wait until the iron is completely cool and then spray a small amount of the wax cleaning solvent on a shop towel and work around the sides and the base of the iron. So buff with the clean shop towel when you're done. So it's important to stay on top of this because people don't clean their iron on a regular basis, and like a little bit of the drippings will get on the side, and then that wax starts to burn, and it could really make a mess of your iron, but it's also continually burning those fumes. So keep your iron nice and clean. More rules for the ski room. So do not use heat guns or any gas burners inside the waxing facility. As we mentioned, we want to make sure that we're not exposing any of these waxes to high heat, especially the fluoros. So use these tools in the presence of fluorinated waxes can generate toxic fumes. And please don't smoke. Smoking and particles don't mix. No eating or drinking in the ski room. We've got a lot of rules here. So what goes up must come down, and you don't want the particulates landing on your sandwich or in your coffee. So don't eat or drink in the wax facility. So dust particulates in the ski room. So scraping and brushing the excess wax from your skis spews those particles into the air. And if you look at this roto brush, if you look for a roto brush, look for one with a suction cover on it. So this is a new product for us this year, and we're really excited about it, especially with the focus on PPE that we have. So a lot of times when you're using these roto brushes, the residue really flies up. It's pretty amazing how much. If you just use one of these, hook it up to your HEPA filter vacuum, it contains the particulates and keeps them close to the ski. It's a great little tool. There's a little bit more detail about that. The rotosuction handle greatly reduces the airborne particulates. As I mentioned, it's best when it's used with the HEPA filter. If you don't have the HEPA filter on your vacuum, when you clean up the ski room or use the rotosuction, it can really kick those particulates up into the air because it's not keeping it contained. So use a HEPA filter vac. All right, leave no shaving behind. So one of the most important things that we can do to keep our environment clean is to leave no shaving behind. So since you started by laying down a tarp, it will make the cleanup really easy. So use a small brush to clean the wax bench top, cleaning up all the shavings onto the tarp. And once you've collected all the wax shavings, you can dispose of them in a trash bag that goes to a landfill. Then vacuum the whole area with a vacuum that has the HEPA filter. Cleaning your tools and brushes. So when you finish, you want to clean your brushes, your scrapers, all your tools in the workspace. So when cleaning the brushes, hold them over and close to a trash bin. Then take a scraper and knock off the loose wax particles into the trash, and this will increase the performance and lifespan of your brushes. Scrapers should be scraped clean and wiped off with Fiberline and wax remover. And as for the workspace, just scrape up any of the wax that dripped onto any of the tools, devices, the tabletop, whatever it might be, and vacuum those tools and the surfaces with that HEPA filter vacuum when you're complete. And lastly, clean yourself. So make sure you take off your gloves, give your hands and your face a good wash before you head back to your room. All right, finally, what does the USSA floral ban mean specifically for you? So there's two things that you have to consider. As we talked about, you're required to use a non-fluoro race wax for starting this season. And then you must remove any of the floral waxes that are in your skis from years prior. So if you're using skis from last year or the year before and you had used fluoros, we have to make sure that we remove those from the ski. Okay, so there's two different methods of removing the floral waxes from the skis. So you can stone grind your skis, or you can do manual wax cycles to get the wax, the floral wax out of your skis. And here's the step-by-step cleaning of fluoros. All right. So this is a process that we're going to go through tonight. I'll actually spend some time here on the bench going over this process with you, but I want to talk about it a little bit before we do. So we're going to clean the base material by using non-fluoro waxes to remove the fluoros that might be in your skis, right? So you can use any non-fluorinated wax. You could use the CH waxes from last year, the base prep waxes, anything that's non-fluoro. And remember, if you're not sure, just reference the package for the logo. So what we're talking about doing is wax cycles, and we're going to go through layers. So we're going to end up putting 9 layers of wax into the ski to remove any fluoros that might be in the ski. So we're going to go through 3 layers of yellow, 3 layers of red, and 3 layers of blue. So tonight I'm going to be working with the Swix PS Performance Speed Line. And so we're not going to be doing hot scraping. What we're going to do is wax, scrape, brush, let the skis cool down. It's really important that we don't overheat the base material. And when we get into the waxing section of the series, we're going to go into like a lot of detail on that. But tonight we're just going to talk about the specifics to cleaning your skis. So just remember, when you're in doubt, let your skis cool off to room temperature before you scrape them. And then between each layer, we're going to do 3 layers of yellow. Then we're going to use a wax cleaner. And then we'll do 3 layers of red, wax cleaner, 3 layers of blue. And at that point, you're ready for your wax of the day, whatever it might be. You don't have to use the wax cleaner at that point. But I'm just going to speak really quickly to the wax cleaner. So we've got a couple different versions. We have citrus solvent. We have a base cleaner. We also have this one that was a glide wax cleaner. And this has been in line for a while. It's important that if you have the old product, you want to replace it with the new product because the old product had fluoro in it. So the new product is fluoro-free. So make sure if you're using the glide wax cleaner, you buy the new fluoro-free version. All right, so let's get started here. Before I can wax, I have to make sure I have all my PPE on. So I'm going to start with my apron. So I can do this. I have my mask here, but if I put this mask on, I know you won't hear me. So I'm still gonna wear a mask, but not that level of mask. Just gonna wear my black mask here. Got my eye protection, got my hat, and I got my gloves. Now I'm going to get set up for waxing. And if I put this over here real quick, Pete. All right, just give me 1 sec. I got my waxes I'm going to use for my cycle, a cleaner, a sharp scraper, and my brush. All right, so getting started, we're going to start with the yellow. So I'm going to reference my wax packaging at 120 degrees Celsius. So I'll just make sure that matches. The iron's already set up, so that's really easy. Then I'm going to grab my ski here. And just a real quick tip, especially with the softer waxes like this 10, it's a soft wax and it can get kind of messy. I like to just take a little bit of masking tape just to keep the mess from getting all over my bindings and my plate. It's a lot of work to clean all that area off. This will also keep my vices from getting wax all over them. I'll put a little bit of masking tape on here to protect the bindings. I'm going to brush out the ski, 1 pass with the scraper. Then I'll just take my hand brush. And I'm just going to take a little piece of fiberline and wipe the ski off quickly. And then we're ready for our first layer of 10. So I highly recommend with waxing that when you put wax on, you want to do it in 2 passes. You don't want to overheat the ski. So it's important that we keep the iron moving, and we don't ever want the wet trail behind the iron to be much bigger than the iron itself. If it's really wet, if the ski's wet for a long way, you're really putting a lot of extra heat into the ski. So remember to cover the ski liberally with the hydrocarbon wax. And then we're going to make 2 passes to get that wax into the ski. So first pass is going to be to distribute the wax. Second pass will be to get the wax down into the structure. Then we're going to let it cool off before we scrape. Also, just really quick with the iron, looks like I'm using our iron backwards here, but this is actually the front of the iron. This iron has a bevel that's on the back side, so that is going to be the leading edge as I iron, because it's going to help the iron slide and glide over the top of the wax here. And when I iron, I'm going to push down with moderate pressure, and I'll even lift the iron slightly in the front, not that you'd notice, but just enough to keep the iron moving. So I'll make the first pass here. And on my second pass, right now I can still see where I dripped the wax onto the ski. My second pass, I'll actually see the structure stand up, so I can see the wax dropped into the ski, and I won't see any more of those drops. So I know I got the wax into the ski with 2 simple passes. All right. So now the wax is in the ski. While it's still a little cool, I'll just take my scraper, clean off the sidewalls. It'll make my cleanup a lot easier. And then I'm just going to let them cool to room temperature. Once they've cooled off, my standard is just feel it. If you feel any heat, they're still a little too warm. But if they're cool, if you don't feel any heat, they're ready to scrape. So just out of keeping things moving here, I'm going to just scrape the skis here real quick. I'll start at the tip. I have a nice sharp scraper. I'm going to Hold the scraper with my thumbs behind and my index fingers on each side here in a slight angle. You don't want to hold it like this. You want it just like that, always scraping from the tip to the tail. And remember, you want wax in the ski, not on top of the ski. I'll make one more pass. Okay, so at this point, the ski's nice and cool. We go into our second, and then we do our third layer. And then before we moved on to the PS8, the next layer of wax, we do one pass with the glide wax cleaner. And I'll just do that right now so you can see it. So we're just going to use some fiberline. Oh yeah. Thanks, I just got a reminder. Thanks, Nick. I forgot to mention the brushing. That's kind of an important part. So after we wax there, we're going to take that brush. This is a medium brass brush. It works really nice for just general work. Any of our brushes that have metal in them, you always want to make sure you use them directionally. So we're going to brush the ski out from the tip to the tail, making sure we use it in the same direction. Okay, and I'll make one final pass with my scraper. I'll go to that fiberline again. And now we're ready for that glide wax cleaner, which would be after we've done our 3 cycles of wax. And we're ready to move on to the next hardness. So just take that cleaner, go down your fiberline, just wipe it over the base. And then we're just going to let that dry for about 10 minutes. Brush it out with a nylon brush. And then we're ready for our next layer of wax. All right. So that's the process. Just to recap it, we're going 9 layers in total. 3 yellow, scrape brush, and we use the glide wax cleaner. 3 layers of red, scrape brush, glide wax cleaner again, and 3 layers of blue, scrape brush, and you are ready to use your skis. All right. Let's see here. All right, so brushes. So if you have old brushes from years past that you've used fluoros with, we're saying be safe and just replace. Brushes really aren't that expensive, and you should be replacing your brushes. Metal brushes, it's not uncommon to replace these every year. They kind of wear out, the bristles roll over. If you're tuning on a regular basis, let's say every year or 2 you have to replace these. Nylon brushes, probably a good idea every 2 years to replace them anyways. So wax residue from fluoros can contaminate a brush. So it's better to replace the brushes than try to clean them, as a minor amount of fluoro can still contaminate the ski. So trying to replace the brushes is an option. I'm sorry, trying to clean the brushes is an option, but it's best just to replace. Okay, so some people have asked me about this process. I'm going to go through this fluoro cleaning process, but won't my brushes be contaminated with fluoros after I do that? And the answer is yes. So we're going to show you how to clean your brushes at the end of the day to make sure you keep them working properly and fluoro-free. So you're going to need a few things to do this. You'll need that HEPA filter vacuum, citrus solvent, small Tupperware container, some fiberline, your PPE, and of course your brush. So I'll get set up and we'll go through that process. Okay, citrus solvent. Let's see if I have all my stuff. Citrus solvent, vacuum. Okay, as we talked about, we want to replace the brushes if they've been used with fluoros. And the first thing that we want to do is use a little vac with our brush. And we just want to vacuum up any loose debris that's around the brush, anything that's down in there after using it. Okay. Then after doing that, we want to take our citrus solvent and have a little Tupperware container here, and we're going to fill it about 3/4 of an inch, basically just enough to dip those bristles of the brush into the container. Okay, once that's set, you want to drop your brush in there and just go back and forth about 3 or 4 times. And then brush it out on the edge. And then back into that solution again. And then a couple more times. And then we can just let that brush dry out, probably 10 or 15 minutes. Once that's done drying, we're going to vacuum it one more time, and then we'll give the brush a really good wipe down. So once that's done, we'll just take a little bit of fiberline or a shop towel and run around the edges and base of that brush and keep it nice and clean. And this goes a long way. Your brushes will last a lot longer too if you do this. All right, so that's that process. Pretty simple. Make sure you're wearing your PPE and dispose of this solution when you're done. I'm just gonna put a top on here for now. All right. All right, so that went pretty fast. That was ski room safety, working with fluoros and PPE. And that's a good start for us. We need to make sure that we're following the rules in the ski room here. So as I mentioned, these series are going to be pretty detailed. So the next one's going to be tuning, and the following will be waxing procedures. And then the last one will be like race day, getting ready for race day, what it takes, tracking your equipment, measuring your side cut, knowing why you like equipment or why you don't like equipment, help you figure out what that is. And then like a checklist for race day to make sure you're prepared. So that last one I think is going to be pretty cool. But just to go into tuning here, we're going to take it really deep, and it's going to be an hour worth of edge work. So we're going to talk about how base bevel works, how to measure the base bevel, how to set base bevel, how to maintain base bevel. This stuff's really important here, so we're going to spend a lot of time on it. And then we'll get into how the side edge works, how to check side edge bevel, how to set side edge bevel, how to remove the sidewall, how to shape the sidewalls of a ski so you can properly set the angles. It's also for the performance of the ski. Sharpening by hand or by machine, touching up edges, and then really important, adjusting the ski sharpness for the conditions. So we hope you join us on February 3rd for the next tuning session, and hope to see you for all the other ones too. So. Oh yeah, so sorry for the trouble getting logged in, and we will offer the full clinic on YouTube. And then finally, if you had any questions, we'll answer them right now. Pete's going to read me some questions and I'll answer them.
How do you dispose of the citrus solvent?
That's a good question. Well, the citrus solvent, whenever I'm done with mine using it in this solution, I have a small container that I keep it in. And when it's full, I put it into a trash bag and it goes to landfill.
Is it okay to keep skis indoors, apply wax outside, bring skis back inside the pool, then scrape and brush outside?
That's a lot of moving skis around. Yeah, so I don't like taking a hot ski, like taking a ski inside or from inside to outside to cool off and back inside, because there's a lot of materials in the ski that hold it all together. You know, there's a lot of different layers in here. There's wood, there's Titanol, there's carbon, there of course there's the base material too, edges. It's one of the reasons why I don't like to overheat a ski, because when you put all that heat through a ski, all those different layers start to expand and contract at different rates, right? So over time, all those epoxy resins that are holding the core of the ski together start to break down. So the more that moves, the more deflection you're gonna get, the more your skis will be concave or convex, and it can actually damage the core of the ski. So I think probably going from having a really warm or hot ski out to a cold environment and then back to a warm environment, I think you're really moving the core of the ski a lot. So I would say no, I wouldn't do it. I would let my skis just cool down in the ski room. And once they were cool, I do all my scraping and brushing. But that leads to a really good question, or a good point, I should say. And when you're done scraping and brushing, there's still wax in the ski. So when the ski gets cold, that base material is going to shrink and is going to purge and push more wax up and out of the ski. And it's remarkable how much more wax comes out of the base material. And it's really important that you scrape and brush that once more before you race. So I would say do the best job that you can in the ski room, but know when you get to the mountain that your skis are going to purge some more wax and you're going to have to scrape and brush again, probably outside or at the start before you use the skis for racing. But try to limit the amount of heat or cold, or dramatic swings in temperature, because that's going to damage the core of your ski over time.
One from Ryan Daniel. What are the differences between CH and PS?
All right. What are the differences between CH and PS? Not much. They're very, very similar. Essentially, they're the same product. So if the way that you were using CH waxes in the past, you can use PS exactly the same way.
What is the purpose of the wax cleaner between color applications?
So we're trying to remove the fluoros, and what we're doing is just cleaning the palette. Like, we're doing a lot of wax work to get that fluoro to come to the surface, and we're making that pass with the base cleaner to clean that final residue off the ski, and then we move into the next hardness of wax to do the same thing. And we're continually bringing that fluoro up and taking it off the ski.
Is there a new guide for selecting the new waxes based on temperature and snow conditions?
Is there a new guide for wax selection? We have a new chart, yes. And you could find that. Do we have that posted anywhere where people can find it, Pete? put you on the spot. Sorry. We share it with our key partners. We'll get it out to retailers. Like, it should be out there. If you have a hard time finding it, we'll make sure that we post my email address somewhere so you can get it at least. Should be, it's not on the website. Yeah, it could be on the website. Yeah. So anyways, yes, there is a new chart, and you can check it out, hopefully at our website.
Can roto-fleece be used to apply top speed waxes or just the marathon?
The roto-fleece, the roto-wool fleece can be used on any of the hard waxes. So you can use it for 4 hardness, 5 hardness, or 6 hardness. Those are the categories I'd work with.
Considerations for snowboards?
Considerations for snowboards. Essentially, it's all the same. The big difference with snowboards, and we'll talk about this a lot with our edge tuning session next week, is basically it's going to boil down to edge angles are the bigger difference, and it's less aggressive angles in general. But the waxing, the glide is all the same.
How long have you found it takes to get a ski to room temperature? And how hot is your iron on each bar type?
So how long does it take for a ski to cool down to room temperature? I would say in general, probably about 25 or 30 minutes. I guess it depends on the ski and how cold the room is. So yeah, I would say that's it. If you're unsure, if you're not sure if your skis are cooled off, just feel them. You know, like if like the ski is definitely cool, I don't feel any heat in it. So it's ready to scrape and brush.
What's the Swix view on no wax and nano ceramic products for racing?
What's the Swix view on no wax or nano ceramic wax for racing? So every brand's going to have their own version of the metal colloid. You know, like we use that metal colloid. We have a lot of success with it, but like I mentioned, every brand's going to have some sort of preparatory, if I can say the word right, wax that they use. I can't speak to the ceramic technology. I haven't worked with that, but it's probably something that's works well. I don't really know too much about it.
Will wax remover damage and dry your ski bases?
Well, wax remover damage or dry out your ski bases. It can. If you aren't waxing your skis on a regular basis and making sure that paraffin's in the base material, yes. I use it sparingly. I think, you know, going through that process of the floral removals is great. Good to do. Generally speaking, in season, I'm sticking with this glide wax cleaner. It's a little less aggressive than the straight base cleaner.
If you're just using non-fluoros, is it okay to hot scrape?
If you're just using non-fluoros, is it okay to hot scrape? I don't like to hot scrape the skis just because of all the heat that goes into the ski. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of different layers in there. And as you're building up heat and doing layer after layer of hot scraping, it can damage the core and it will singe and seal the base material. So the base material is called a cindered material, which means it's smashed together. There's like nooks and crannies of this base material. It's pretty hard. The other kind of base material is called extruded, and it's basically like plastic. And there's no nooks and crannies or pores that the wax can get into. And it's not as hard and it doesn't last as long. But if you overheat this base material, those nooks and crannies will shrink up and you'll have a harder time getting the wax into the ski. But I've watched people do hot scraping and really heating up the ski and make a pass with a sharp scraper and get to the end of the ski and say, oh, wow, look at all this dirt that's coming off the ski. And I was letting my skis cool down to room temperature and I was scraping them. And we had exactly the same models of skis and I wasn't getting any dirt on my skis. So what I think was happening was that base material was softened from the heat, and then a sharp scraper over that base material was literally planing the base material off the ski, or the dirt off the ski. So I would say I just really recommend staying away from hot scraping. There's two ways you can damage your skis: overheating them, hot scraping, or touching the base bevel. And we'll get into that detail with base bevel next week.
How to dispose of fluoros that you still have?
That's a good question. Fluoro disposal. You could take the fluoros. There's a center somewhere in Texas that takes back materials that are toxic. I have to look up the information, but there are centers in the U.S. that you can send that material to. Also, I would think that probably if you don't have that source, maybe you could just put it into a, well, what I do is I contact your local landfill and ask them what the proper procedure is locally.
What is your view on using graphite/moly?
What's your view on graphite/moly? I think it really works great. I mean, like I said, I use it quite a bit. So we're in New England, and a lot of the racing around here, there's big swings in temperature. The snow is transformed or dirty. There's a lot of grooming, man-made snow. Any of those conditions where the snow has been transformed, it's a great fit for moly. The only time I don't use it personally is if it's new fallen snow. So if it's snowing out and I know it's snowing out and there's new snow on the track, I'll just use straight TS. It would have been HF. Otherwise, I use the moly waxes quite a bit. The graphites don't get used as much. The graphites have like a sharper edge to them, where the moly, as I mentioned, it kind of rolls and the molecules slide off one another. So I think the sharper edges of the graphite that's probably why it's not used as much anymore.
You can tell them I attached the temp chart to the chat.
Oh, Peter attached the temp chart to the chat.
Do you have an opinion about the hot roller waxers for non-racing purposes?
The hot roller waxers are actually really great. They are a great way of reducing the heat going into the ski. And so it's a pot where there's a chamber that you can pick the wax of the day, and there's a roller, and it heats up the wax to a point where it's liquid. And if the roller is in the center of the bench here, I could just slide the ski over the top of it like this and get one thin coat of wax over the base. And then I could just make one pass with my iron. Really reduces the heat. They're really cool. We use them quite a bit. So yeah, I think they're great.
Are you mixing black with TS and in different ratios and temperatures?
Am I mixing the black with the TS? So the TS series, when it's TSB, whether it's 7, 10, 8, whatever it is, it's all pre-mixed. So all those waxes are going to be black. You don't have to do any mixing. It's already done.
Are the metal colloids hydrophobic?
Are the metal colloids hydrophobic? Yes, that's the name of the game. So the fluoros are a hydrophobic element. They repel water, and that's what we're doing. We want to do the same thing, but with a different substance. And so that's, when you boil it down, they're doing the same thing. The metal colloids are replacing the fluoros for that reason. That's it for questions. If anybody's got one more, we have time for one more question here.
Oh, you got one. Do you use the base prep was interchangeably instead of the PS? Was your use BP first followed by PS?
Is it basically replacing the PS with the BP? So the question was, can you use BP instead of PS for the cleaning process? And the answer is yes. You can use any hydrocarbon wax you want. You could use CH, you could use BP. These are Swix products, base prep wax or hydrocarbon wax. Like I said, I use PS in the Pro line, which is replacing hydrocarbon. But with the Pro system, it's all non-fluoro. I could use top speed if I wanted to, because it's non-fluoro. So as long as the wax is non-fluoro, if it's a Swix wax, as long as you see that green label, fluoro-free, you can use it.
Thoughts about hotboxing?
Thoughts about hotboxing. Some people really like them. You know, you'll hear me say the same thing over and over in these clinics. I don't like too much heat. So some skis are more stable and they can handle the heat, even though it's not extreme heat. If you put an adult race ski into a 50 degrees Celsius thermal bag, it's probably going to hold up better than a junior ski. I used to own a ski racing shop for 16 years, and I know when I had my thermal bag, I'd put a junior ski into the thermal bag, and I had to be really careful with it because it was an acrylic core, or it wasn't constructed with the same, it wasn't as robust as the adult ski. So certain skis will really react negatively in a thermal bag, and therefore I don't really like to use them for that reason, but they are effective. Some people really like them.
After following all the steps, what percentage is guaranteed for no more fluoro?
After following all of the steps, what percentage is guaranteed for no more fluoro? 90, I can't really say for sure. That process, I can't say 100% of the fluoro is going to get out of the ski. I assume it would. It's a lot of wax work. You know, we built that going above and beyond to make sure that we could deliver a system that was going to really perform and remove the fluoros. But I can't say with certainty. You know, like I mentioned, the FIS was developing a camera that could go over the ski and detect fluoros, and their camera didn't work last year, and that's what led to the suspension of the FIS rules for non-fluoros for fluoro ban for the season. So there's not a really good way to know for sure, but if you follow our steps, I think you're going to be safe.
What are the humidity requirements for TS?
What are the humidity requirements for TS? So one thing about our system, and we're going to get into a lot of details with this on our third waxing clinic, the third clinic, which is going to be waxing, is in our system, if it's high speed or top speed with the metal colloids, and this was true with the old system with the fluoros, if you were in the, let me see, I'll just have my waxes here. See, I don't have them all here, but if you had the system laid out, you have 10 for really warm conditions, 7 for moderate, 6 for going colder, 5 for the coldest. Usually in that 5 category, it's going to be pretty cold, and usually the moisture content's lower, right? And if you come all the way over here to the 10, it's going to be really warm conditions. So more than likely, you're going to find higher humidity, wetter snow. So our system's tiered. So in this category, there's going to be more metal colloid to move water. And as you go down to the 5, there's going to be less. So we've done the work for you. You can just select the wax that's going to fit your performance and your budget, right? So you don't have to really worry about like exactly what the moisture content is of the snow. You basically have to look at the ambient air temperature at your race time and then pick the wax that's going to fit your performance and your budget. It's really simple. So if I was going out and every 10th of a second mattered to me, I would always be in the TS category. And I would just pick the wax for the conditions, the ambient air temperature. And we've done the testing, we've done the work to match this wax for those conditions that you're going to be in for maximum performance. If I wanted really good performance in the same category, I would be going for, I don't think I have it here on the table, but it would be HS8. I don't have it on the table, but HS8 would be fitting my budget, but still giving me a lot of performance. And then finally, if I was like on a tight budget, I would be going for the PS category waxes. But I would just be picking selection off of my air temperatures for race time.
Thoughts on liquid waxes?
Thoughts on liquid waxes. They're awesome. We have the high speed and the top speed liquids available. They're really, we're just getting test data back. Actually, I just got an email today about how well the top speed liquid's working. Also, we know that high speed liquids are working really well. They're really quite durable, like beyond what you can imagine. So you can use them. How we're talking about using them is waxed with the paraffin, like we just did, scrape and brush, and you can go out and ski. When you come back to the ski room, you can use the liquid for 1, 2, 3 days on snow. That 4th day back into the ski room, you're going to go back to the paraffin. So what you're going to do is keep that paraffin in the ski to offer you some durability, and you can support it with that liquid wax in between. And then also, as we mentioned, you can use that liquid wax as a booster for race day application, top coat, second run. So it's really easy to use and very effective. In fact, it's so easy to use. You spray it on, let it dry, brush it out with a blue nylon, you're ready to go. Stuff's great.
Do you have an opinion of applying wax with a wax future?
Do I have an opinion on applying wax with a wax future? I would go back to my opinion on heat. Just be careful how much heat that you're putting into your ski. It's infrared, so it can really drive the heat down into the ski. So my rule of thumb is I'm feeling the top sheet. If I feel a lot of heat coming through to the top sheet, I'm putting too much heat through the ski. So I would set up my infrared so that it moved quickly, was able to get the wax into the ski without feeling that heat transfer all the way through to the top of the top sheet.
Will there be fluoro testing at USSA and FIS level races in 21-22?
Can you spin back to the FIS rules or the USSA rules for me? So I think it's one of the first 15 slides. Did it jam up? So when I talked earlier about the USSA rules, and we had 3 slides that really, there was a lot of detail, and I didn't go into super detail on all their slides there, but we can talk specifically about that now. The question was, okay, go back one. Okay, so can you read the question again for me?
Will there be fluoro testing at USSA or FIS races in 21-22?
Will there be fluoro testing at FIS races 21-22? So this is USSA. So they're saying that in addition, random testing may be implemented. So there's going to be some sort of testing possibly at this level at USSA. Next year at the FIS level, I know that they were working on testing mechanisms that they just weren't ready with this last year. I would expect them to be around next year.
Why do you go off air temperature and not snow temperature?
We're looking at ambient air temperature at the start. So what you want to do is just get a basic idea of what the temperature is at the start of the race. So like if I'm picking an air temp for a 9 a.m. race, I might actually look at like maybe 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. Just get a basic idea. One reason why we're just kind of looking at that instead of the snow temperature is we're building durability into this wax. This wax is, generally speaking, harder than the old system. So you want durability and hardness in your wax. If I was ever going to miss the wax, I would always want to miss it to the cold side. I wouldn't want to miss it to the warm side, because you want your wax to be as hard as hard or harder than the crystal that it's going to roll over. You want it to break that crystal over, create a little bit of water that you're going to glide on. Our waxes now are inherently harder, so that's built into it already. So you just need to pick the temperature, the ambient air temp, and that's going to give you the correct category to be in. We've done the work for you. We're trying to make it simple. So that's how we use our system. No more questions? All right. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. I think it's been a good start. Hopefully it was good information for everybody. And next week, we're going to take it pretty deep with edge tuning. So this should be fun. I think we should have a great clinic in that. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon. This clinic's going to be posted on our YouTube site, which is Swix USA. And I think it's also going to be listed on the ski racing website as well. Thank you.